Hey guys, so it's Tuesday and I'm making this video right now because I grew up in Liberty City. And when I grew up, and this was the 80s, so I was born in 74. But I grew up my elementary school years. I remember being able to walk to the park and being able to walk to the corner store and my grandmother giving me a list and saying get a loaf of bread and some milk and all that good stuff, and not having to fear what may happen if I'm walking to the store. And I say all this to say that back then what we call the hood was a neighborhood. It was people who were actually invested in one another. That I couldn't walk from my grandmother's house to my elementary school that was in line of sight of her house without at least another 6, 7, 8 neighbors knowing that I passed their house on my way to school. And if something went wrong, I knew there were at least 8 different neighbors, by their last names, of course, because we weren't allowed back then to call adults by their first names. But we knew at least 8 neighbors that we could stop to and say, I see some guy or some person on the street that doesn't look familiar, or somebody's following me, or I'm hurt, or I need help. Because back then, we were a neighborhood. And that's a long time from right now. And I never felt like we were the poor people or the, what do they call it, the low income, or living below the poverty line. Or I didn't feel any of that growing up because I had a great childhood. And then I became a mom. And I made a decision a few years ago to move my children away from the neighborhood I grew up in, because I didn't want to feel what a lot of mothers are being faced with these days, and that is having to bury their children. I watched a video tonight that absolutely broke my heart, and I don't know this mom. The young lady who made the video, I only know her through Facebook. I think I met her one time. But her goddaughter was the victim of a shooting, and today she passed away. 8 years old. 8. And I think about not just my sons, but all my nieces and nephews. And I think about my cousins and their kids, and my friends and their children, friends that are in school with them. And I can't understand why as a neighborhood, because Liberty City is a big place. For those of you who only have watched First 48, they show you about a 6-block radius, which is pretty much what we call the Beans, which is a project area. But the Liberty City is a pretty big place. And for those of us who grew up there, we know it stretches quite a bit. But as many blocks as Liberty City encompasses, there wasn't a block in Liberty City that I didn't know somebody who would look out for me. This is where I grew up. First 48 I always thought was the worst thing that ever happened to Miami, to where I grew up, because the show was designed to highlight the worst parts of the city that I grew up and loved, and I still love. Because even driving down the street and I see a lot of development companies come in and they build high rises and new stores and things in our neighborhood, I'm seeing everything that I grew up knowing. I'm seeing it all fade into the background. I'm seeing it all go away. But what's sadder to me than seeing all of the structural changes is the fact that there's no more neighboring in our hood. There's no more neighborhood. The truth is, I'm not even going to go on this Black Lives Matter needs to matter to black people because, that's propaganda. But as a community, we need to hold these cowardly people to some standard. Once upon a time, it was no women and no children. If there was some beef between whomever, men handled their business. But women and children, nah. But now, more often than not, we're seeing children, little children, taking bullets over grown people bullcrap. Or we're seeing young people with guns in their hands going out after other young people, and how many are getting caught in the crossfire. I'm so floored at the idea that when we say no snitching, that means that it's perfectly okay in our neighborhood to let someone, I don't care if they next door, I don't care if that's your cousin, that it's okay for them to take a gun and end the life of a child and not be man enough, not be gangster enough to stand up to what you did. That's who you are. That's what you did. Whether it was a mistake, I was shooting at somebody else, I mistakenly shot you, or, the gun got away from me, I didn't know it was that powerful, whatever the story may be, a child died. And she isn't the first child in our neighborhood that has died. But how many of these funerals are we supposed to attend? How many times do you want to see a child's face on the front of a TV? It's bad enough that childhood illnesses claim the lives of so many children in our community, in our country. But the idea that we are allowing our children to be gunned down, I don't know what it feels like because I have my 2 sons. But every day it seems like I hear about a child that's around my kid's age. When Trayvon Martin died, he was the same age as my oldest son. This young man that was killed the other day, he is the same age as my youngest son. He's 15. And no, just because I took them out of Liberty City doesn't make them safe, But the fact is, more often than not, the neighborhood that I grew up in, I'm hearing about all of these killings, all these shootings between Liberty City and what was Carroll City, now Miami Gardens. This is where I've been. This is where I grew up. I spent my weekends there. I spent my summers there, my spring breaks. Liberty City, I was there every day. We were in the house before the streetlights came on because my grandma didn't play that shit. But that's where I grew up. I didn't grow up looking at the first 48. Yeah, there was drugs in the neighborhood. And, in the 80s, we know crack just went berserk. But you want to know the worst thing that happened to me on behalf of a crackhead? They stole my grandma's garbage can. That's what the hell they did. They stole the damn garbage can. No, I take that back. One time, we had a tent on the house. And the crackhead went inside the house to rob us with the tent on for the termites. But all this stuff that's happening right now just didn't happen. I don't remember. There was not a funeral for one of my classmates when I was in elementary school, middle school, high school. Nobody's mama had to walk across the stage to claim their diploma. None of that happened. And these cowards that live among us, they do not represent our hood. Why are we protecting them? They don't represent us. They don't speak for me. They don't speak for you. They don't speak for our children. They don't value their own lives. Thereby, they cannot value the lives of our families and our children, our godchildren, our nieces and nephews, our grandbabies. So why are we giving refuge to people who could care less what happens to us and what happens to our kids? Why are we doing this? When someone told me that Miami Gardens is now called Murder Gardens, I said, what? You know what? Truth be told, when I was growing up, if you lived in Carroll City, that means your parents had a little bit of change. that little money. So when we left Liberty City to go to Carroll City, that was a step up in the world. And still, we were allowed to grow up. You want to F up your life, that's fine. Let these children grow up and mess up their own life. Why are mothers having to bury their kids? So many GoFundMe accounts. So many children that need to be buried. My cousin moved away to Port St. Lucie and took his kids. And although I don't get to see them, as often as I would like, and I see them on Facebook, pictures, but I understand why we have to make these decisions, because we cannot continue to bury our kids. There is no reason, no excuse to give refuge to these cowardly individuals. I don't care where they from. I don't care if they're your relatives. I wouldn't care if they were my relatives. The fact is, you don't represent our neighborhood. You don't represent what we stand for. The hustle game is real, but family first. We hustle because we have families. A lot of us don't have jobs. A lot of the people in our communities are trying to make a way out of no way at all. And I get that. I'm not judging that, because it's always been that way. When I was a kid, you could go to the store. Your grandma could send you to the store to buy a cup of rice and put it on her tab. And she'll go to the store on Friday and pay off her tab. And she'll send for 6 slices of bread and a cup of sugar. But what the fuck is going on right now? I have no idea. You are not standing for anything when you let these folk remain amongst us, because they are the problem. And we are enabling them to continue to be the problem. Somebody knows something. You know exactly what happened. You know who. You know if you are letting him, ladies, if you letting him lay in your house right now, knowing what he did, knowing that you have some kids or there's some children in your life, and you are giving refuge to this person or these persons who brought an end to this child's life unnecessarily, we need to bring an end to this, because the change has to start with us. We have to put the neighbor back in our hood. We can't continue to live in the hood. We got to live in our neighborhoods. Your address don't make you. Plenty of doctors, lawyers, attorneys, politicians, ministers, you name it, came out of the hood. But we have got to bring an end to the idea that just because we are from here, that means that we are animalistic in our behaviors. I watch ducks with more consideration for the little ones than I see adults out here in our neighborhoods. You grab a gun and you don't even care that that's somebody's baby, that's a baby. They're all our babies. They're all ours, because they're part of our community. They're part of our village. We're equally responsible for their lives. You killed a woman's child, but you ain't gonna put up no money to help her bury her baby. When what we should be doing is making sure our children can get to school safely and back. We got enough enemies out here. Our kids should not be afraid to go to school in the same neighborhood where we're raising them. They can't. And we can't continue to allow this to be a part of our reality. I agree with something that, Valencia said in her video. The marching and the talking and the protesting and all that is great. But there needs to be some action steps. Like, it all has to matter. It all has to come together. Meaning, if it's good enough for me to say that police officer right there can't put a bullet in my baby, that goes for every other living soul. That goes for every other living soul. You can't keep shooting our babies. That's not okay. It's enough people want to see them dead. So, no. And if that's what you want, you got to get the fuck out of our hood. Plain and simple. If you can't protect, if you're not here to put that gun down or handle that ish wherever you need to handle it, but not right here where my children got to lay their head. If you ain't on that, you got to get the fuck on. Make you your own neighborhood where you can shoot whoever the hell you want to. But we're not doing that right here. At some point, it's time for us to just say it. Just say it. Whatever you can't get with, bruh, get the fuck on. Because you're not benefiting nobody. And we also need to stop letting folks come into our neighborhood. Again, a lot of these nonprofit organizations, and we always waiting on the big name to show up to save us. There's no big damn name. There's none. There's none. There's a bunch of mothers, and there's a bunch of fathers, and there's a bunch of people in the neighborhood who can just simply say, we don't do that over here. That don't happen right here. That park right there, our kids going to go to that park and be able to play after school. This street right here, they're going to be able to ride their bikes up and down on this street right here without worrying about whatever it is you got going on. Because we could all own a gun. But it's not the fact that we need a standoff to make a big fuss and to make a big change in the neighborhoods that we live in. I never had that worry when I was growing up. And guns existed then. And drug dealers existed then. And they were in my neighborhood. And we knew them by name. But no, there's no code. There's no code. And when babies get involved, I want some of these big badasses to stand up to them other Negroes and say, you know what? You the problem. Because that what you did, no women, no children, bruh. And since that's what you did, we got to handle this. Now, I don't know if you want to call 911. That's on you. But something needs to be done where our babies don't have to keep wearing this. I grew up there. If you grew up in Liberty City, Overtown, Carroll City, North Miami, if you know what it was like to grow up. Why the hell our children can't know what it's like to grow up? Why is that optional? Why? They need permission to grow up? Why? You keeping that secret, it's only eating you up. Whoever did this, that 15-year-old, this little 8-year-old, whoever did this, y'all need to stop. Loyalty don't work like that. It don't work like that. You're doing nobody a favor. You're not the only one. You're there now. But so many of us have been there. We grew up there. We're from there. We got love for the city. And the time is now, because hear me, nobody is coming to save us. No amount of marching, no amount of protesting, no amount of political presence is going to save us. It doesn't matter who the chief of police is. They're not here to save us. This is our responsibility. And I'm just asking you, if you know. I know right now there's a flip the mattress challenge going on. I'm down for that. I never thought my kids needed much privacy in the first place. If it's in my house, damn it, I'm looking at it. You don't lock doors in my house. I wasn't allowed to lock no doors growing up. You think you got a little hidden stash? I'm all up in that. If it's in my house, I know what's up. Parents, it's time to step up. Aunties and uncles, it's time to step up. Grandma, granddaddy, it's time to step up. Or else we're going to keep burying our babies. And if we get rid of our own futures, then what are we supposed to do? You and I are not getting younger. These babies, this is our future. Our next president is amongst these kids. The next doctor, maybe the first doctor in your family, is amongst these kids. This is our future. And we got to stop dangling it out there like it's a carrot on a damn string. You can't have my babies. That should go without words. If y'all want to complain about it's not enough fathers in the household, well, that's a fucking given. We know that. But mamas, we got a voice too. Because who carried that baby? You did. Who's responsible for him right now? You are. Stand up for your kids. Stand up for them. Go out to that school and see what the hell is going on. Talk to your children. Give them a safe place to come and talk to you. One of your kids know who pulled that trigger. One of your kids knows the answer to that. One of your kids knows what's going on in these streets way more than we do. You know why? Because they have to leave out that house every day uncovered because you got to go to work. You're not with them 24/7. They know exactly what's going on. And they're afraid. And what are we doing about it? We're not the best mamas and the best daddies just because we dress them up real nice. Because a bullet don't care if you wearing Jordans or Keds or some Payless shoes. The bullet don't give a fat flying fuck what you got on. It don't care what name brand book bag your child is carrying. But you should be tired as I am. I'm tired. I am tired of rest in peace to little children. My granddaddy was 93 and my grandmother was 92 when she died. I expect to go to that damn funeral. I don't expect to see a baby in a fucking casket. And you all standing around like, oh, rest in peace, hashtag justice. Fuck that. Who did it? You don't need a hashtag to say that's the nigga right there who did it. And I guarantee somebody is letting him lay in their house right now. Somebody is letting him drive their car right now. Unproductive people are just that. And they are a fungus. It's like when you diabetic and your toe get bad and they got to amputate it. We need to amputate these motherfuckers out of our neighborhoods. Just totally disassociate. If you don't give them a safe place to go, why? To explain this to me. Why do the dude who pulled the trigger get a safe space, but our babies don't get one? Tell me that. Why is he more entitled to a safe place to lay his head while he figures it out? But that baby wasn't entitled to one. Some would say if you knew better, you would do better. But I'm convinced that we know better. We know it's wrong. If you didn't know it was wrong, you'd have been told it. These are our babies. More than one of us on this call, on this video right now feed, more than one of us has an 8-year-old. More than one of us has a 10-year-old. More than one of us got a 15-year-old. And if they're not yours, somebody you know has a child around that same age. Why does it have to knock on your front door before it becomes important to you? I want to kill that disease before it ever get to my doorstep. Because I want to see my babies get to grow up. And if they got to mess up their life, let them do it. I don't need nobody choosing for them. I pray over their lives every day, every night. But the fact of the matter is, the bullet don't care whether I prayed or not. Prayer without works is dead. And we need to dead this conversation about no snitching. Because I promise you, if you know me, if I know you and you do it and I know you did it, I'm telling it. So if you don't want me to tell it, make sure I know nothing about it. Nobody's baby should be target practice. And that's all I got to say about that. Good night.